Hello, welcome back to my shop. Today is just sort of a little demo. I'll show you the kind of things that I have to work on. What we have here is the computer for my voicemail system for my Intertel telephone system. I have to keep this thing working. It's from 1998, and we'll see in a minute just what this thing really is made out of. Might surprise you this day and age. Let's put this over here. Alright, so let's open her up. It's quite. It's a good thing I've been around these for a long time, so I still remember how they work. Show you in a minute. This is, as far as computers go, this thing's probably in computer years 100 years old. It still works. He says, hoping that it still works after I turned it off, which kind of scares me to death. Alright, so let's take a look at the inside of it here. So, here's what we've got. There's the motherboard. Hard drive's up there. And it's got a floppy over there. And that's about it. The motherboard, let's see, what do we got? It's got a VGA connector, or card. It's not on board. There's nothing on board on this thing. And a card from Intertel that's connected down here to another card from Intertel. On the back, we've got a couple of serial ports, keyboard, or that's a mouse actually. The keyboard is the old style right here, keyboard. And these are the Intertel connector to go to the telephone system. And the VGA, it's on a board. This one is actually kind of highly advanced because the actual keyboard or serial ports in the mouse connector on the back here come up off of risers on the board. So let's take the things out. What I got to do, the idea here is I have to find the parts for this so that I can make a backup unit in case this one dies. So we'll pull out the hard drive, old IDE hard drive. Oh yeah, and this thing has OS2 Warp on it. That's what the voicemail runs on, is OS2 Warp. Amazingly enough. And it's not the graphics version of Warp either, it's just old Warp. ISA slots. One PCI slot for the video. The idea here is just to get the numbers off the board. So let's take a closer look at the board here. There we go. There's the board. It's a VIA chipset. And it's got one stick of memory in it at this point. onboard hard drive controller. There's the processor over there. I don't know what it is. I think it's a P1. But I'm trying to find the numbers here for this thing, whatever this is. Get all this junk out of the way. Find the number for the board. Hello. Gotta be on here someplace. Ah, there we are. Yeah. It is a G486 VPC Revision D. Cool. Made in Taiwan. What I love on this thing is, if you take a look at this, it's got a bunch of 16-bit ISA slots, one 8-bit ISA slot, and a shared PCI slot. One of them. That's it. It's really kind of cool. An old antique. Alright, now let's see what do we got here for a video card in this thing. It's a Trident. Old Trident card. It's not even fully populated with memory. Doesn't need it, it's no video. Yeah, TGU I9680. Not much. Now, as for the hard drive, it's a Western Digital 20 gig. Old antique IDE. I already have made a bit-for-bit backup, 2 of them, of this thing. I have the OS2 Warp to go back on it, but I don't have the program, so I made sure that I had a backup. Okay, also, let's take a look at the power supply. What do we got here? We got 200 watts. Whopping 200 watt power supply, maximum total. That's not very much by today's standards, but it was then, I guess. So anyway, there we go. There's my little box. Now I got the numbers off of it. I need to put it back together again and get it back in service, because people don't have their voicemail. They kind of lose it. Anyway. Okay, so now we're going to turn it on. Show you how it. Well, a lot of glare there. Better. Yeah, a little bit. All right. Just because most people haven't, a lot of people haven't seen it, it's OS2, and I'll show you how it works here, and we'll also get into the BIOS and see what we've got. So let's turn it on. One of the interesting things is see what kind of current it draws. Okay, there we go. So we're looking at what, 250, about 0.25 amps, and get into the CMOS, see what we got. Well, it's keeping time. That's cool. Battery's still good in it since it's been unplugged. It's got an auto for the. This is back in the days when you had to actually set the different size of your hard drives. You had to know what they were, because a lot of the times the auto wouldn't work. This one's set on LBA and auto, so it knows what it is. It's got a 1.44. Let's see. See if we can get into one of these just for the heck of it and set it page down. See? Now, way back when, you used to have to tell your hard drive, your computer, what your hard drive was. In this one, this particular mode 1, had a size of 10. I think it'd be 10 megabytes with 306 cylinders, 4 heads, 128 pre-comp in the landing zone of 305, which is just before the end of it, and 17 sectors. You had a bunch of them. Whoops. You had a bunch of them in those days. There you go, 21, 32, and all these different types of hard drive sizes, all depending on the cylinders and heads. And it would tell you this on the top of the drive in the old days. There's 106 megabytes. It went all the way up here to 45, and those are all different sizes, and then to auto. But what you could do is, let's see, how do I get across from here? Been a while since I've worked on one of these. Let's see if I can get it to go across. Yeah, so we go to user, and the user on this one probably is set to what drive is in there. If you look at the other ones, we had on one, there's 10 heads, or size of 10, you had 306 cylinders and 4 heads. If we go up to user on this one, we've got size of 8.447 with 127 cylinders, 255 heads, but you see over there it says 63 sectors. So it would go to bigger drives, and some of the older versions would actually, in the auto, it would recognize the bigger drives up to about 20 gigs. That's about all, because that was considered just ludicrous in the day. But anyway, that's the BIOS in this. It doesn't really tell you, except I've got 8 megs of memory, 640K, and 384K. I don't know what the other memory is, but 8 megs of memory on this thing. Megs, M as in million, not giga. Isn't it interesting? And for some reason they gave you other cool little things you could do, like change colors. Yay! Why? I have no idea. But and this BIOS is from I believe 1997, I think. So let's get out of it. Okay, now let's see. Go to the chipsets. All kinds of things you could do here. Almost all of them will screw you up. Most of the time we used to cache the video BIOS, which was almost, you had to if you wanted anything to work. Cache the system BIOS helped too. Let's see, a couple other things. Nothing good. You could turn on and off your different IDE controllers. You could turn on and off your floppy disk controllers and your serial and your parallel ports and set them up for different kinds. You had some power management, not much. This one's disabled, and it would go to sleep, but it's all disabled. Some other stuff you just never worried about. I was trying to find out if I can find yeah, just all kinds of stuff here. None of it very useful unless you had specific things that you had to do with the machine. Anyway, quit without saving. Yeah, I don't want to mess anything up. So we're going to watch it boot. It's 133 megahertz, P75. So yes. Floppy disk fail. That's interesting. Did it come unplugged? Let's find out. I bet you did when I was messing with it. It's easy to do. Yeah, I did. Yeah, push it in. The floppy disk connects through a cable that goes down to the board, motherboard. So does the external serial ports and all that other stuff. And there's virtually nothing holding them in here. So, all right. Push that back in again and turn it back on. It jumped up to almost an amp, half an amp there for a minute. All right, 8 megs of memory. 1996 Award BIOS. Floppy disk still failed. This is the fun stuff. Why? Well, it came completely off the board. And it is way back there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it actually came completely unplugged from the board. I was pushing it in between the space, between the memory holders and the floppy disk board. Okay, one more time. It'll work this time for sure. Okay, it's a Ward plug and play. Aha, we have success. There we go. Let's see what we got. We got cache memory is 256. It's running on a 133 megahertz clock. It is a 5x86 AMD chip. Okay. With a floppy and 8 gigahertz, 8 gig, because that's all that this BIOS evidently would see, would be 8 gigs. So I'm not even using all the 20 gigs out of that drive, just 8 gigs of it, because that was the max. EGA, VGA, 2 serial ports, and a parallel port, 3F8, 2F8. Yes, remember those. Okay. And there is the OS2 screen down there that 1987 through 1994. And then the thing boots up. It's probably going to complain because it's not plugged into anything. Anyway, that's OS2 Warp in DOS mode, booting up to on a old antique 1997 machine. Anyway, there's a really quick one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.